focus on his spirit, cause it keeps me from his fire. The Holy Ghost was with me, so my fear I leave behind. My sins were all diminished when he took that breath and died. And if you think I'ma give up on my God, the devil is a lie. The devil is a lie. The devil is a lie.
Hello, this is Christina Barr. You're watching Black Tea News. Hello. Welcome to Black Tea News. I'm your host, Christina Barr, and today we're going to be talking about something that is just, it floored me when I saw it today. I want to talk about Jake Tapper writing a book about Biden's decline, and people are mentioning, bro, you're one of the people who covered it up, so that he's going to be, the book, I guess, explores the cover up and how Biden and them didn't drop out of the race and how it paved the way for Trump and all kinds of different stuff. I don't know what the angle is. I mean, it sounds like an interesting book, but it's like, why are you writing it? Are you going to be, is this a confession? Like, you don't want to go to your priest, so you're just going to write everything down in a book. It's just pretty incredible. Also, the White House is shaking things up with the press poll, and well, just, and it's needed. It's needed, and it's something that I think Trump should have really did it his first term as well, and I'll explain that. But the media and the Democrats, they're all flipping out because Trump is actually shaking things up like he said that he was going to do, and they don't understand that the people voted for him to shake things up. They did the first time, by the way, too. I know people who voted for him to shake things up who weren't Republican or conservative in the slightest, but they wanted to shake up. They didn't want same old establishment Clintons or whatever, excuse me. So he's shaking things up, and things need to be shaken for sure. Anyway, before we jump into everything, I want to encourage you guys to go to blacktnews.com, check out different content on my website, different articles, different videos, etc. If you like what I do here, please consider leaving a donation at blacktnews.com/donate, because it does cost a stream from my website, all that good stuff. So you guys can't support, I very much do appreciate it. Appreciate you guys. I do also ask you guys can check out different merchandise that's available at blacktnews.com. I got different t-shirts and things like that, like the goat hoodies and goat t-shirts. I have both. I do have them in different colors as well. I know somebody just got one different, and I think black maybe. I do have different t-shirts. You guys could also check out different books that I've written. I have nonfiction faith books. I've got historical fiction fantasy books. I've got children's chapter books and contemporary fantasy stuff. So all kinds of different things you guys can check out. I have 18 books all together. There's a link in the description if you're watching on Facebook or YouTube. That'll take you to like an Amazon page that should have like all my available books that are current right now. So I encourage you guys to check that out. And I look forward to more things being out. Before I jump into everything, I do have an announcement. I announced this yesterday. This is really for anyone, I guess, in the local area. So I live in Michigan, and I'm in the Southeast, and my church is in the Southeast. And this weekend on Saturday, we are having a worship gala where we'll have skits and like singing and all kinds of stuff. It's formal. People are dressing up, and there's food, banquet style, and it's at the Lafayette Grand in Pontiac, and which is it's been there for a long time, but it's a nice place. And the proceeds to this event are for Pregnancy Crisis Center. So in June, we have a Life Month drive for our church. And so we collect donations for diapers and, baby clothes and baby baths and cribs and all kinds of different things. We just get the list from the Pregnancy Crisis Centers for things that they need. And so we buy those things, and then we collect them, and we bring them to the center. So the proceeds will go towards supplies for that as well. People will still donate, but items, but we'll use different things to buy different stuff to be able to help women in our community, mothers in our community who need a helping hand. So it's a very good cause. It'll be a very good time. So if you are in Michigan, or if you like to drive, I have people coming from the middle of the state, and like some it's a kind of a hike in some areas. So um we had a really good time. We had one last year. I was sick then too, but I still sang. And we got really good feedback from it, not just like for what we were doing, but people were really touched by the I don't know, the exhortations and the music and things like that, and people gave testimonies about how it healed, like, different things in their family relationships and all kinds of different stuff. So it was just a really awesome time. So if you would like to go, I will have you can, I'll have that stuff posted on my socials, and, I encourage you guys to come if you can, and if you can't come and you still wanna support, you guys can still I don't know, like, buy a ticket or sponsor a table or something like that, and, I guess just kinda leave a note somewhere that, this is just kinda like a donation. But, I thank you guys, and, hope to see some of you there if you can, and understand if you can't, but I just wanted to, make that available. Another thing, unrelated to the news that the political news, but something that, was really shocking. Michelle, Trachtenberg passed away. She's 39 years old. We just celebrated my sister's 39th birthday on Monday. It's just kind of surreal because this is a celebrity that I grew up watching, and so that's what a lot of people are saying. So if you don't know who Michelle Trachtenberg is, I'd be surprised if you didn't. But I'll go ahead and share my screen so you guys are familiar with the actress. I tried to look up how she passed, but it seemed like she was probably sick because she current pictures of her look quite different. And she was found in a so I don't know. Someone said they had no idea. I opened up TikTok and there was a post about her passing away, and I was like, this can't be real. And so I got up. I would there's stuff like that. I Google it real quick to see if it's in the news because it'll be breaking news. And if you see just because you see a TikTok video doesn't mean it's true. I fully plan to see that it was fake, go back to that video, and hit not interested or do not recommend or like flag it or something for being misinformation. But no, sadly it was true. But she was in a lot of people know her from Buffy, and she was in Gossip Girl after she was in Buffy. I She was in Pete and Pete. She was Harriet the Spy. Pete and Pete was a TV show that was on when I was growing up. Um, and Harriet the Spy was a movie that we had on tape. Nickelodeon used to have those orange tapes when they come out with a movie. And so, you know what? I don't know if Harriet the Spy had an orange tape. Rugrats and stuff had an orange tape, but we did watch Harriet the Spy a lot. And I really like that movie. I did watch Buffy. I did not like John. Nothing against Michelle though, but I just was not fond of Dawn the character. And I know they were I'm like, "She didn't have a sister. What's going on?" And I didn't it was kind of whiny, and I never really she felt shoehorned into me, and she was for the plot, but I just never loved it. I never loved it. And on Gossip Girl, she was very much different than any kind of reiteration that you'd seen her in with all her other characters, but she played like a wicked, conniving, mean girl who was just a queen of scheming. So I don't know much what she did kind of after Gossip Girl, but yeah, it was just shocking. 39 years old. So that's some new news that's being talked about right now. But I was shocked to hear it. I guess I 39 still seems pretty young to me. Like I said, we just my sister, the sister right above me, just turned 39 on Monday. We celebrated Katrina's birthday, and I'm not too far from that number myself. I'm just that's just 3 years for me. So um, that's a short life. So prayers, out to the family. It's just really surreal. Anyway, um, I said yesterday I was going to talk about the wokeism versus Christianity, but I was still getting some notes and different things together, and my voice is still a little strange. So I didn't want to be, you know, while talking about that subject because I think it'll be a good teaching piece. So I'm gonna try to I'm gonna table it for tomorrow. But I'm right also like right working on an article too, so I can really try to have my stuff, my thoughts very kind of cohesive and my notes and scriptures and other things to debunk the woke things. But just to preview it, Peter Thiel, he had said something a while ago, but it resurfaced because someone wrote something in like I think Rolling Stone magazine. He said on a trigonometry podcast that Christian that wokeness was kind of like an ultra Christianity, and it that it was because Christianity takes care of the victims, and this is just like a distorted kind of view of that. And I would say that wokeness is very much like a religion, but I think it's very much the distortion was probably the only thing he got right, but it's very much not like Christianity. So I'm just looking at different things that Christianity teaches that's really, really the opposite of the woke agenda with the oppression Olympics, or just the disregard of truth. Like feelings are more important than truth, and that's just not a Christian virtue. You could be like, you got to follow your heart, and it's like, well, the Bible says your heart is deceitful. Like, no, you're not supposed to. Just because you could get a room of weirdos together and claim that gender is a social construct doesn't mean that a boy can become a girl, or be not conformed to the world, be transformed by the renewing of your mind. Like, you're saying a bunch of wackadoodle things that's really disordered against the basic truths of like men and women that are defined in the first chapter of Genesis. So and then there was Jodie Foster. Was it Jodie Foster? Or was it, I don't think it was Jodie Foster, so Jane Fonda, who gave a speech at, I think maybe it was a SAG Awards, it was some award show recently. Must have been SAG because it just happened. About how being woke just means you care about people, and saying that being woke just means you care about people. That's like, which people? Which people are you talking about? So an example I can think of to ask this question is a few years ago, maybe it was just like two, there was a girl, a young woman, maybe she was 17, something like that. She was still a minor, but she was close to like not being a minor. But she went to a YMCA, and she heard a dude in there, and it was a dude. It was a trans woman, big old black dude, and she got scared, and so she made a big commotion, and the people acted like she was a bad guy, and the dude was acting like a victim a little bit, but at the same time he called this girl a B. And so when the girl tried to like testify about like, hey, my sister comes and she showers and uses facilities at the YMCA, we don't want a man to be in there. And I covered this at the time, because the news media, they were so awkward. Like, well, she says she's a woman, and she's like done the work to be a woman, and it was so nonsensical, so silly, watching them try to justify the madness. And there's all these people who wanted to rally around the guy and shame this minor, this young woman who was terrified about a man being in the bathroom. Not just a bathroom, a locker room where she is showering. And this guy also had Redux .com, I think it is. They did an article covering this stuff, and that particular guy, his social media was littered with very sexual inappropriate things toward like children, like minors and other stuff, like little innuendos and other things like that. So it's just funny, the type, man. It's just funny, the type. I'm not saying everybody, but there's a type, man. So you care about people, but it's people like him and not the girl, right? And you'll care about the men who want access to women's bathrooms, not the women who say, please get this hulking figure out of my shower. So it's who do you care about? Because the Christian perspective there would be like Peter Thiel said that, they care about the victim. God does care about the victim, but God cares about justice, right? And there are actual victims in matters, but the woke people don't always pick who's the actual victim of the situation. They'll pick the victim based off of their oppression Olympics. Like the victim in that situation is the minor, not the hulking figure who wants access to the shower. So anyway, those are things we'll cover and we'll talk about. Thank you, LG Girl 88. Appreciate you guys. Appreciate all you folks who are watching live right now, and to those of you who watch back. I try to say that every show, but I'm sure you guys know that I love you deeply. So anyway, a little preview. We'll get to all that good stuff tomorrow. So let's talk about Jake Tapper and CNN and this thing that just had me in awe this morning. This morning, I'm scrolling, still like in my bed, scrolling through Twitter, or X rather, and I saw a post. And if you follow me on X, maybe you've already seen this post or you've heard about it already, because I had retweeted this and I said, let me just go back. I said, I cannot believe this. I cannot believe this, and I can, but it's just amazing. So Alex Thompson said, news, Jake Tapper and I wrote a book, and I'm bleep proud of it. It's about Biden's decline, its cover up, and how it's allowed Trump to return. Pre-orders are really important these days, so I'd be grateful if you ordered early, like right now. This is called Original Sin. You can see it's got that image of Biden and hands covering his face, covering his eyes specifically. It says President Biden's decline, its cover up, and his disastrous choice to run again. So it's coming out May 20th. And this is some more from the book. What the world saw at Joe Biden's one and only debate was not an anomaly. It wasn't not a cold. It was not someone who was under or over prepared. It was not someone who was just a little tired. It was the natural result of an 81-year-old man whose faculties had been diminishing for years. Biden, his family, and his team let their self-interest and fear of another Trump term justify trying to put an at times addled old man in the Oval Office for 4 more years. What was the extent of it? Was it a cover-up? Was it a conspiracy? We will let the facts speak for themselves. This is incredible. The audacity of this. There's a show called Dexter. Now I've never seen Dexter myself. People say it's a great show. It's critically acclaimed, and I think they brought the show back, and then they now they're doing like a prequel of it. So it's a very popular show. I've just never seen it, but I know it's about a serial killer who kills other serial killers, and he works at the police station, and he does like forensic stuff. I feel like this is the serial killer doing the forensic work. And maybe they're going and outing other serial killers at this point, and talking about what they did to cover up or whatever. But Jake Tapper is also a part of this game. He is guilty of this stuff, man. He's guilty, and I'm going to show you guys a clip. I'm going to show you guys a clip. But even if he wasn't out there, you know, making excuses for Biden, it was just silent. He was still silent. Like, this is a little late, guys. This is a little late. Like, let's go back to this statement that it's in the book, okay? Um so they're like, "Oh, was it a cold? It wasn't someone who's tired." So the debate did blow up everything. But it didn't reveal a new truth that was just unknown to the world. It was, these people can't hide anymore. And we've watched videos of Joe Biden stuff, messing up his words, forgetting things. We've seen there was a video of him. This was right before the debate, by the way, at that George Clooney fundraiser, and Obama like kind of helping him off the stage. Now we all saw what it was, and the director was like going in and out trying to do. He did a job as good as he could to try to hide kind of that image of Biden just kind of being hobbled off the stage and helped by Obama. But the White House and other folks are like, these are cheap fakes. Like, don't believe your lying eyes. That's what they tried to push on us. And people there at the freaking fundraiser were like, man, he looks really bad. Oh crap, there's a debate coming up. Ooh, I hope it was just a bad night, because everyone is going to see what we just saw. So everyone is aware. People who are actually around him are aware. There's no way Kamala Harris and his staff and other people are unaware that Joe Biden has a decline. There's no way. But the debate could no longer hide what they had been lying about. They could no longer hide it. And so then they had to flip and be like, oh my gosh, we got to ask questions now. And then they pushed him out. They pushed him out. There's so many mistakes. And people want to blame Biden for Trump winning. People want to blame Biden. But everybody and their actions led to that outcome. It led to that outcome. So I don't know what all this book is going to say and who all they interviewed. I'm sure it'll still be interesting. I don't know if I'm going to go out and pre-order it. I'm sure I'll maybe talk about it, different excerpts that people will post or whatever. But the natural result of an 81-year-old man whose faculties had been diminishing for years. We noticed that. People have been talking about that for years. Okay? Biden and his family led his team in self-interest and fear of another Trump term justified, blah, blah, blah. I would say it's probably mostly self-interest, because they had been, enriching themselves for a long time. Biden obviously wanted to be the president, something he wanted to do for a long time himself, and he should have stepped aside. He pitched himself running as just being a kind of a transition or I forget the word, transitionary figure or something, for his presidency. Gave the indication that he wouldn't run a second term. Don't believe people when they say garbage like that. Shame on the Democrats for believing that. They could have ran somebody else in 2020, and still won. Looking at how they were willing to break the world to keep Trump out of office. Not anybody, obviously, but I think if they would have ran Tulsi Gabbard, she might be president today, to be frank. But they want to go with good old Joe, who's obviously running out of steam, and we could tell during the campaign. That's the craziest thing. They pushed this man over the finish line. He benefited so much from it being basically a virtual campaign where they could just do a bunch of Zoom calls and not a lot of events, and they couldn't have a lot of people there. The social distancing, all that, they benefited so much from that. They did. They did. Um, but even still, I noticed, and I was doing news and commentary at the time, and I remember saying, like, they got another lid. There's another lid today. They told the press to go home. Like, what is this? Ginsburg just died, and there's a lid. This man is sick. This man is something is wrong. We noticed. We knew the whole time. So I don't think it was just like oh, Trump is so bad. They don't like Trump, but Trump isn't like the worst dude in the world. The next Republican they'll say there will always be a Republican who's the worst Republican who's ever been a Republican. You know, they're not gonna if Ron DeSantis became the next president, they're not gonna be like, oh well, at least he's not Trump. They're gonna be like, he's worse than Trump because he can competently govern in a way that's effective. Like they there's always gonna be someone worse. So them just doing whatever they can to keep Trump out of the White House because he's such a significant threat to democracy, whatever, versus like everyone else, there's always gonna be somebody worse. I think most of it, they don't want Republicans to win for sure, but I think a lot of it, with Joe Biden saying it, was just really self-interest stuff and setting up his family, protecting his family, and other stuff like that. Anyway, let me show you guys this Jake Tapper clip that people are posting. To just kind of like be like, oh, do you have the right to be here? Do you have the right to talk about this? I don't think so. So this is a confrontation that he had with Laura Trump some time ago.
Every time he comes on stage or they turn to him, I'm like, Joe, can you get it out? Let's get the words out, Joe. You kind of feel bad for him.
How do you think it makes little kids with stutters feel when they see you make a comment like that?
Hide behind the kids with the stutters. Hiding behind the kids with the stutters forever and for always, man. Like, bro. And you know what? They choose these topics that they want to cover when they ask these people to come on. So there's anything in the world he could ask Laura Trump, and he wants to guilt her about talking about Joe Biden and be like, oh, it's his stutter, and you're making all the kids in the world feel bad. Okay.
First and foremost, I had no idea that Joe Biden ever suffered from a stutter. I think what we see on stage with Joe Biden, Jake, is very clearly a cognitive decline.
Okay.
That's what I'm referring to. It makes me uncomfortable.
You have
to watch somebody on stage
it's so amazing. It's so amazing to me that
try and figure out an answer.
A cognitive decline.
When you're trying to tell me that what I was suggesting was
I think that you were mocking his stutter. Yeah, I think you were mocking his stutter, and I think you have absolutely no standing to diagnose somebody's cognitive decline. I would think that somebody in the Trump family would be more sensitive to people who do not have medical licenses diagnosing politicians from afar. Plenty of people have diagnosed your father from afar, and I'm sure it offends you. Your father-in-law from afar. I'm sure it offends you. You don't have any standing to say.
I'm not diagnosing him. What I'm saying, Jake,
you just talked about a cognitive decline.
That Joe Biden
I have one last question for you, Laura. You can't
times on stage, and it's very concerning to a lot of people that this could be the leader of the free world.
Okay,
that is all I'm saying. I genuinely feel sorry for Joe Biden.
I appreciate it. I'm sure.
How dare you? How dare you, Laura Trump? How dare you even suggest such a thing? Do you have a medical degree? You need a medical degree to know if someone is declining. Didn't you know that? That's silly. Now, there are people who, you know, I'm not saying that she should be like, oh, he has Parkinson's or oh, he has dementia. But just to say that he has a decline, you're like, you're not a doctor. Okay, the reality is this. The reality is this, and it's a sad reality of just life and getting older. And you know, opened up talking about someone just passing away, whatever. As you get older, people around you also get older. Your grandparents, parents, or whoever, aunts, uncles, especially if, there's really big gaps when you were born versus other people, you see decline. And there's a difference between just decline, like everybody's not where they are a couple years ago. Like when I was, I don't know, 18, early 20s and stuff, I was like stocking shelves at Target and stuff. I would go in at 4 a.m. and I could live off of very little sleep, and I would write until I passed out, and then I'd go to work and I'd come home and I'd write until I passed out, and I'd have to drive other people, other places and whatnot. And I could live off of very little sleep and just keep it moving. I drive and do whatever. If I don't get enough sleep now, my body like kicks the crap out of me. And I just can't do it. Like maybe I'll be fine in the morning and it's like, at some point in time, it's like, we're making you pay for not letting us sleep. I didn't used to have sinus headaches when I was younger. That's something that's just developed past couple years, and it's awful and it sucks. Okay. There's just things you can't do. You don't operate the same. Your body slows down. Like, you hear people all the time like, oh, I used to eat all this stuff and now I can't as an older, because your metabolism and other things start slowing down. It's just not the same. It's not the same. So your body changes, obviously, as you get older. You're aging, and there's homeostasis isn't like quite what it was. And that's why you're aging out, man. Okay. And that's not the same as someone having, dementia. Okay. That's not the same. But of course there's a decline. There's a decline. And we could go back and watch old videos of Joe Biden. Not even all the way back when he just first started being a senator and he had some more hair or whatever. We could just go back to when he was the vice president. And we could see that Joe Biden was never particularly sharp, but he could speak better, I suppose. And from that time to now, or even when he was just running in 2020 or 2019, it's not the same. It's not the same. And then he didn't have that performance level. Like Donald Trump, he's out there doing all kinds of different things. People talk about like he doesn't sleep. He's like some kind of freak. And he'll do event after event after event. And people were talking about how he was up for like beyond 24 hours, like that the night or whatever before the election. And he's just bouncing place to place to place to place campaigning. He was a machine. He's a machine. He's not even like, I would say probably operating the same. Like he's had some decline from 2016 because he's an older man. But it's just night and day between what he could do and what Joe could do. Back when he was doing The Apprentice, this is probably the most controversial win to me. I didn't want Joan Rivers to win. I wanted Annie Duke to win. And that was season 2, maybe, of Celebrity Apprentice, if I'm not mistaken. I love The Apprentice. I love Celebrity Apprentice and stuff. In another world, in another life, in another universe, he decided to not run or whatever, and he's still cranking out apprentices, and I'm still watching them on Sunday nights and dancing to the theme song. But I didn't want Joan to win, but Trump, he kept talking about Joan, and the compliment that he would give the most to Joan is that he's like, you're so old, but you're able to just go around and do so much, and you have so much energy. He always talked about her stamina. He was just in awe of it. And I'm like, dude, why is like that the thing that's like your number one thing that you're focusing on? There's like fundraising and strategy and all these different things, and Annie is so great, and you're just so caught up in the fact that Joan Rivers is old and able to move around and hang out and with the younger people. But he was he was just in awe of it. Maybe he was just like, I don't know, claiming that like in the name of Jesus, like be able to be up there in age and able to function in the way that she's functioning. Like there's no kind of I'm not gonna say no difference, but I mean she was very lively. But I didn't think that she should win. I'll have to talk about that more later. But I was like, I really didn't think she should win. Should have won that season. But he obviously really liked Joan. So it's not that just because you're old that you can't do the job, but we have eyes, Jake. We have eyes. People can see that their loved ones aren't the same, or something is wrong, or something's off with them, or they can start to tell when there's something off with themselves. Like when you get older, you've witnessed other folks going through some kind of decline. So yeah, we're not with Joe Biden. Laura Trump doesn't have like immediate access to Joe Biden, sure, and she can't diagnose maybe from afar whether he has dementia or something, but I think she can tell that he has suffered through some kind of decline. Okay? And for him to flip out and be like, you're mocking his stutter. She said she didn't know that he had a stutter, which that was recent news to I think most people. Like 2020-ish. If you guys knew earlier than that, congrats on you. But that was news to me. I never heard him talk about a stutter. Other people talk about Joe Biden's stutter. But she said that she wasn't making fun of it. And Jake Tapper acted like, yes, she was. But still being mad about the decline stuff. So anyway, Jake Tapper is participating in this book. Has co-written it or whatever. I also want to remind you people that Jake Tapper and CNN recently lost a defamation lawsuit. There was a guy who was like getting people out of Afghanistan, and they tried to say that he was doing like black market access and charging all this money to get people out. They were like, we're gonna nail this guy. Like that was like literally a text or something or email within CNN. So there was like malicious intent to smear that man. And so I don't know what the full payout was, because I think they had to do something else in court. But they lost that lawsuit, and Jake Tapper reported on it. And it was I think they put a story on their website, but they did take it down. But it's not like these people are just like paragons of virtue and truth, and that's all they speak. But you guys know what it was like. The media saying that they're cheap fakes, and there's been a lot of conversations since the election about Joe Biden's decline. We've talked about it at length a lot. Chris Chisilla, he talked about it on his podcast, and we watched some of his podcasts when he was talking about it, and he said that the Biden White House, the people around him would get really defensive if you brought it up, so that people just kind of didn't ask questions and they kind of let it be. And he's like, well, maybe we should ask more questions, and maybe we should. Yeah, you should have. You should have. So everyone being upset about Trump being back in office, and they're like, man, this is Joe Biden's fault, and his family's fault, it's his staff's fault, people close around him. What about the role of the media, who just decided to shut up and take it, when, again, we could all see things, but you guys, I don't know, wanted to cover for him? You guys wanted to be true? You didn't want to press? Like, if Donald Trump was hiding from the press, wasn't doing press conferences, he'll do impromptu press conferences all day long. If he was hiding, wasn't really doing a lot of stuff, his schedule was very limited, wasn't having meetings with people or calls, wasn't, meeting with the speaker, and his folks had to give runarounds and all that kind of stuff. If that was going on, and you saw all these kind of stumbles and hobbling and falling down, like all this kind of stuff that we saw with Joe Biden kind of physically, plus all the kind of MIA stuff, and the Trump White House was like, he's fine, and they got really defensive about the cognitive decline stuff, do you think the mainstream media would have just gone, we just got to be respectful because they said He said nothing's going on. Just we gotta just drop it. There's no way. There's no way. So they have to look in the mirror and ask themselves some questions. They have to ask themselves some questions. You don't have to ask themselves. They know that they are the problem. They ought to know. And if they don't know, I don't know. Find Jesus. Go on some kind of retreat and get your life together. Because the sort of delusion is just, it's beyond. It's just too beyond. It's unbelievable, these people. But if they had reported all this stuff properly, even let's say before, in the midst of the primary, okay? I can't remember like a lot of instances in the primary, like in 2019 or whatever. But he's obviously up there, and they had a huge slate of people who were running, but they just, I don't know, decided it would be best if everyone coalesced around Joe Biden. That was their mistake or whatever. But there were things to be concerned about within his presidency. And I'd say the campaign, there are things I remember within the campaign, but within his presidency, and pretty early on. Can you imagine if they had reported on those things and there was just pressure on the White House? They did ask and whine about not having more access to them. There's things like that, but they still played along, with this person's going to be called on. They have the picture here, they played along with different things to kind of coddle Joe and protect Joe. But if they had really pushed and got the sources, because they have all these sources now who are like talking about it, if they had really pushed and did some investigative journalism, could it be that his term could have ended earlier? And God forbid, Kamala Harris would have been president, because if he had to resign, well, of course she'd be the president. And she would have had more time to run herself and implement an agenda or whatever. And maybe the American people would have wanted to preserve the first Black female president. I don't know. It really would have depended on the climate, I guess. But I think it would have added an edge to her if she were already the sitting president. But she shouldn't have been the vice president. That was his mistake to make in the first place. He made a mistake there. Democrats pressured him to get a Black woman, and she is a DEI hire. I don't care what you think. Those are the facts. She was a DEI hire, and in the end, she sank their ticket. But they could have changed the outcome. So people being mad about Joe Biden running again, they could have forced him out. They could have. Or even if they did want to push him out with the cognitive decline stuff, the Democrats could have entertained a real primary. They could have entertained a real flippin' primary. So people being mad at Joe and his family for protecting him, or even close staff around him for being hush hush, that is a decision they all made together. The whole machine, the whole entire machine owns this loss. This whole entire machine owns this cover up. They own it all together. And you can be like, no, we really didn't know. We really didn't know. Aren't you a journalist? How did so many other people just look and know? And you couldn't investigate it. And you know what's really crazy about all this? There was a report by Robin Hur about Biden. And they basically decided that they were not going to bother prosecuting him for his classified documents because of his decline. Because the jury would feel too sorry for him. And I think that's probably true. I But how dare he release the report? How dare he say those things? And Joe Biden was mad about it. By the way, his staff did not want him to do that like impromptu press conference for him to go out there and claim victory. How dare they mention my son? He brought up his son when they interviewed him. Like I remember when I got this rosary at the. Anyway, made himself look terrible. And they were mad that someone outed them and outed their president who's going to run against Trump. They were mad. They weren't pushing him for him to not run then at that point either. Not the way that they obviously pushed. Think about, they were so desperate and successfully got him out after that terrible debate, but they couldn't successfully push him out and get him out after that report. Oh, y'all just didn't want Trump to be right. Like, I wish the media loved truth more than they hated Trump. I wish the media loved truth more than they hated Trump, because they probably wouldn't even hate Trump to the degree that they hate him if they actually love the truth. There's reasons not to like him for sure. But the degree to which they hate him is mostly fantasy. It's largely fantasy that they go out there and they invent and expect people to digest and take it. But if they love the truth, they could have got Biden out and maybe salvaged the race a little bit. Now, a lot of it was sentiments about the country, the job that the Democrats had done past couple of years, and obviously they had gone too far with like the gender stuff and the leaving the border open, and the economy wasn't great. There was people that didn't feel like the economy was great. So there were it was a change election or course correction election. But Biden and Kamala Harris, it was bad because enough people of the American people said, you know what, I made a mistake. Let's bring the orange man back. That is hard for people to do, to admit that they are wrong. That is hard for people to do. I thought that was frankly the biggest obstacle. People to admit that they were wrong, that they made a mistake, of course, correct. And he carried every swing state. It was amazing. Absolutely amazing. So anyway, there's some threads that people put together about Tapper and the media and Biden's decline. Let me go through some of these things, just memory lane a bit. There's Felicity from Arrow getting ready for this thread here. So they got the book. Oh, you know what? Let's read through some of comments. Stephen L. Miller said, "Is it just 300 pages of you guys apologizing to the rest of us, you labeled cheap fake artists? Or are you really trying this?" Have you no shame? I see nothing. The mother of bleeping audacity of you to do this after running 24/7 interference on behalf of him and mocking and attacking every single person who noticed Biden's decline. The mother bleeping audacity. Have you no decency? Have you no shame? People are reposting that video I showed you guys. The only thing more insulting and embarrassing than this would be Chris Cuomo pathetic stunt to bring in cameras and going upstairs in his house to see his family for the first time after quarantining only to them, then get called out for it. Yeah, that was funny too. During COVID. Hey, OJ. Nice book you've got there. I'm sure no one will notice you were in on it. Do any of these references in the book cite your own show? People are saying they pray that it flops. It's just first off, how incredible that the overwhelming majority of the comments are completely negative against you. Second, you are the lowest form of scum, and I hope the rest of your days on this earth are filled with guilt because of the lies and the cover up you participated in. Yeah, it's let me look at some of the quote tweets before we go on. It's just the audacity. The audacity is pretty incredible. And most people are reposting that video. Someone titled it "We Bleeping Lied." Yeah, it can all be told now that there's money to be made. Simply astonishing. Yeah, it's a money grab. Katie Polovich said, "Is this a joke?" Daily Wire reposted that video. The press announcing a book written by the press about the press involvement in a massive cover-up, including the press smearing people for pointing out the obvious, and all the press on here today are like, "Wow, this is going to be great. I can't wait to read this." You can't just slap a new cover on a book that already exists and call it your own, which is mistakes were made, but not by me. Why we justify foolish beliefs, bad decisions, and hurtful acts. Amazing when you call out Joe Biden's decline for 3 years and say that he should step aside. You call a conspiracy theorist. When CNN reporter finally catches up with reality, they get to sell books and pretend like it never happened. That's what's really going on. Biden left office 37 days ago. Think about how long they've been sitting on this material. Yeah. Yeah, that's another thing too. It's really quick to have a book out. Like I know it's a huge scandal and you'd want to write stuff as fast as you can, but to get something like this out, and there are 2 people working on it. Probably more than 2 people, but 2 people putting their name on it. But that is a quick turnaround. Katie said, "Excuse me, seems like Laura Trump is owed an apology." Remember when they gave Biden a fake day-lit set to try to manage his sundowning, and Jake Tapper and all of the members of the White House Correspondents Association pretended there was nothing to see, and the manufactured office in an undisclosed location in a building full of offices was totally normal? Yeah, that was awesome. Yeah, that was weird too, the different sets that they were making. Yeah, that was all strange. Takes an amazing amount of hubris to spend 5 years ignoring Biden's clear cognitive decline only to cash in on a book about when he's finally out of office. Yeah, and you know what? The thing about Jake Tapper is that he tries to come off like he's so serious. You know, like if you're going to think of someone who views himself as credible and a lot of people view as credible, I think people would point to a Jake Tapper, but there are just moments of pure hackery, and this is just incredible. Jake Tapper helped cover up Joe Biden's mental state and now pretends like everyone else did it. Even if he didn't cover it up himself and there wasn't the clip that everyone is circulating, there's still the fact that it wasn't pushed and reported on and by the mainstream media. I too would like to make money off my own malfeasance. Yeah, that'd be nice. Any book that ignores Acela Media's culpability in Biden's cognitive decline cover up, their own original sin is displaying an obvious bias of omission. Let's see if this goes there, although it requires self-reflection and humility. Don't see that happen. Now, it could be self-reflection and humility. We'll see. We'll see about that. Jake, we are not rewarding you for your participation in this charade. This is O.J. Simpson, if I did it levels of shamelessness. That is very, very true. Yeah, so it's just incredible. So on that note, the White House is doing a shakeup in who gets to be part of the press pool, and the media is not happy about it, obviously, because the White House like Correspondents Association was the one who got to pick who got to be in the press pool, but one of their folks is going to MSNBC, so obviously there's some bias there. So they're going to decide who goes in there. So I'm going to go ahead and play the clip from the White House talking about it with the press secretary. But I'm cool with it, you know. I assume they'll pick some good people still, and it won't be all like, I don't know, InfoWars or something like that. But yeah, I think it's a good thing.
As you all know, for decades, a group of DC-based journalists, the White House Correspondents Association, has long dictated which journalists get to ask questions of the President of the United States in these most intimate spaces. Not anymore. I am proud to announce that we are going to give the power back to the people who read your papers, who watch your television shows, and who listen to your radio stations. Moving forward, the White House press pool will be determined by the White House press team. Legacy outlets who have participated in the press pool for decades will still be allowed to join, fear not, but we will also be offering the privilege to well-deserving outlets who have never been allowed to share in this awesome responsibility. Just like we added a new media seat in this briefing room, legacy media outlets who have been here for years will still participate in the pool, but new voices are going to be welcomed in as well. As part of these changes, we will continue the rotation amongst the 5 major television networks to ensure the president's remarks are heard far and wide around this world. We will add additional streaming services which reach different audiences than traditional cable and broadcast. This is the ever-changing landscape of the media in the United States today. We will continue to rotate a print pooler who has the great responsibility of quickly transcribing the president's remarks and disseminating them to the rest of the world. And we will add outlets to the print pool rotation who have long been denied the privilege to partake in this experience, but are committed to covering this White House beat. We will continue to rotate a radio pooler and add other radio hosts who have been denied access, especially local radio hosts who serve as the heartbeat of our country. And we will add additional outlets and reporters who are well suited to cover the news of the day and ask substantive questions of the President of the United States, depending on the news he is making on that given day.
So back in 2016, after that election, I thought the media was so biased toward Trump that when he came in, I thought basically he needed to have like a come to Jesus moment with him and been like, y'all need to like self-analyze and reflect so we can move forward in this country. Like because y'all got to cover me and we got to communicate things to the American people, and y'all, the way that I was treated, like there's clear bias there. So and y'all can still cover me, but I just want a commitment to the truth. Like, is that, I'm sure they would have found that condescending or whatever, but I just thought there need to be like a, you know, sometimes you're at church and they be like, you know, maybe you thought you were saved before, but you know, your heart's not where it needs to be, and they're like, let's have a rededication to Christ. like sometimes people do that prayer, people come down to the altar, like like let's have a rededication to the truth, to journalistic integrity, kind of moment, to if they wanted like White House credentials. Like I thought there needed to be something, because not only were they biased, but if like I read some of the Podesta emails, but they were so cushy, lovey-dovey with Hillary Clinton and Podesta, and you know, and they'd be like, I don't know. There was one email and they were telling him like, no, we want this article to be this to be the name of the article that you guys are putting out about us and other stuff, and then they would name the article what they said. And I just that was one of the things that really concerned me about Hillary if she won, the lack of checks and balances. And that also concerned me about Biden winning and Kamala winning, because if all the levers of power are just all on one side, what happens when there's a big scandal like the president suffering cognitive decline and no one wants to report about it because they're all on his side? What happens then? I guess we know. Thank God for the debate, because I guess all of them got humbled and some egg on their face. But you know, there's some outlets that where some people, I don't want to say whole outlets, like Jeff Bezos recognizes that the trust of the press is very low. That's one reason why he didn't want his paper to endorse Donald Trump, the Washington Post. And then so many people on his staff were upset. Some of them quit. And some of the readers were just outraged and they were so upset about it, even though it wouldn't have changed the outcome of the election. It was just basically virtue signaling it. And it just would have affirmed that, they're still biased. And at least that was a positive step in the right direction, but they were furious about it. But they recognize that there's a lot of new media coming up, and a lot of new media coming up who don't have sources, and they don't have the fact checkers and other things like there's other legacy media will have, even though their fact checkers are sus on a lot of things. But they take a certain amount of pride in all the things that go into running their companies, but nobody trusts them. And that's an issue. And they can't compete with this new media. And they ought to be able to, but they can't. And the only way to bring balance back is to start acting like you got some sense. So the White House just be like, you know what? We're gonna pick the press pool. We're gonna make sure that's not just DC establishment heads putting in their folks. We're gonna make sure that this balanced out. We're gonna make sure. It'll be interesting to see who goes in. I think it's interesting to have some new media. Marco Rubio was interviewed by an independent reporter on X, and she asked about it, and he's like, "You got to go where the people are." He's like, "I don't want to hurt anyone's feelings, but no one's even like." All these other media companies and stuff, they're going bankrupt. The people need to hear what's being said, and there's all kinds of new media and how people are learning things. So I think it's a good thing. There's people flipping out about it. Why shouldn't, I guess it's a norm that they're breaking, but again, people voted for Trump to shake things up, and I guess why shouldn't they be able to decide on certain people getting different credentials? But you'll see leftist media like Brian Stelter, for example, in the past advocate that certain news networks like Fox News should get be part of the press pool and other stuff like that. So it's not like all the press people are in on it together, like we're one big happy family, we got to stand up for one another. No, it's not like that. It's be part of the system and you get the attaboys. So they've ruined themselves. They've ruined their credibility. Jake Tapper and CNN, they are not helping. This book that he's putting out is incredible. Just the audacity of it. And I hope it's like a confession booth, but I don't think it's going to be that way. Anyway, that's it for today, guys. I hope you guys enjoyed the show. Go to blacktnews.com. Check out different content, website, different articles, videos, etc. If you like what I do here, please consider leaving a donation at blacktnews.com/donate, because it does cost a stream and run by side, all that good stuff, so you guys can support. I very much appreciate you guys. You guys can check out different merchants available also on the site as well. Different t-shirts and mugs and so on that's available. Some, like I have the "You Are Not That Special" mug. I do also have those in t-shirts. Some of the other like a week or so ago asked me to make another Chibi Trump mug, one that was for the spring or summer or something like that, because they do enjoy it in the fall, but they want something else. I'll have to like get on that, but I encourage you guys to check out what I got online. And again, you guys can check out some of my different books that I have available. I have 18 all together. I will be at Motor City Comic Con in May. Let me look up the date really quick. Some of you did come out. There's so I know someone sent their husband because they couldn't make it out, and but it was cool. And I appreciate you guys coming and sending your husbands and so on. Motor City Comic Con. It's in May. It's May 16th through the 18th in Novi, Michigan. So tickets are already on sale. So yeah, I will be there in Artist Alley. Usually my spot is right next to my sister, and I usually request that, and they usually grant that request. But hopefully we will have bigger out my children's like picture book. Jeremy Renner is gonna be there. Oh, let me I don't know if you guys are interested in this, but I haven't looked at the guest list, so this is a interesting guest list so far for the Motor City Comic Con. Jeremy Renner is gonna be there. Rainn Wilson, Sean Astin, Caitlin Barr, voice actor, I guess. Chris Bartlett, the Hardy Boys. Steve Burns, that's Blue's Clues. Oh, that's the other kid from Blue's Clues. There's gonna be a special Blue's Clues thing. Oh my gosh, what a perfect time to come out with my picture book. There's gonna be some kiddies there. I'm sure there's gonna be a lot of adults there that'll be like, I love Blue's Clues. Especially if Steve is there. That's for older folks. And that's the list so far. I'm not familiar. I don't think I'm familiar with these other guys, but I'm sure there'll be more. But Jeremy Renner, that's very interesting for sure. So yeah, those are the guests who'll be at Motor City this year. I will be in Artist Alley, and I will probably not leave my table besides to pee and eat. That's usually how it works. Anyway, thank you guys for joining me today, and I will see you tomorrow. God bless.